WOWT6. This is Heartland Focus.
Good morning and welcome to Heartland Focus. As you can see, I have my mask on to continue to prove the point of how important it is in terms of this mask. Regardless in terms of your disbelief that this is effective in helping to stop the spread, even if you don't believe that it is, do it for the sake and for the safety of others, people that's in front of you. And so I think one should dare not assume that it's okay to put someone else at risk simply because you just don't know if you have the virus or not. Just because you're feeling okay, just because what you're seeing in the news and all this misinformation, I hope you will not choose to put others at risk by not wearing your mask. And I know it's difficult sometimes. I'm challenged. So I'm not here saying I'm the perfect human being in this. I think we all have to work. We got to work hard to continue to stop the spread of this insidious virus, COVID-19, by wearing a mask, social distancing, washing your hands, and get tested. If you don't know, you've been around someone and you may think or thought they may have been exposed to the virus, go get tested. There's all type of places in this city that you can sign up and get tested in terms of COVID-19. So there is no excuse for it. I hope you choose to be a part of the solution and not part of the problem. As we look at really the tragedy that took place last week in terms of our state, our nation's capital, we call it the People's House. Regardless of what side you fall on in terms of Democrat or Republican, it's just the right thing to do in this situation where you have this intentional, this deliberate attack on our democracy to hold people accountable. Accountability must be first. You cannot just the day after say, hey, let's turn the page and start the process of healing, right? I mean, look what you see in front of you, just what took place there. There put so many lives in danger, and at what cost and what risk. And I just think we have to send a message as a people, not a certain party, as the Republic, Americans, that no, this is not going to happen in our watch, on our watch, or on our house, or to our house. This is our house. And it was attacked. And so I think the world is watching us, how we're going to react, our behaviors. We set for so many countries the pulse, the beat, the rhythms of how to move and how to navigate through difficult situations. So, to whom much is given, much is required. So, we're the big King Kong in the house. We say, hey, I don't think we're at a point where I think we're the greatest nation on planet Earth. We've earned that, but to keep that, there's some things that we got to do. We got to do some house cleaning. We got to do some house cleaning, and we got to do some looking ourselves in the mirror and say, what will I do to make sure we can do the kind of things to strengthen and shore up this fragile democracy, right? And so I would love to get your comments and your opinions about what's our way forward? How do we strengthen our democracy? How do we rebuild trust and confidence in our election system? I mean, it's not perfect, and nobody is saying that it's perfect. But when the people speak, and they spoke loudly, I think we should listen. I think we have a system in place, and that system is the majority votes win. And this is no opinion. This is not Tim's opinion. It's just what's in our Constitution in terms of just what governs the governance of us as a people. And you can't just all of a sudden just change that, right? We just can't, just because somebody don't want to accept the results of what happened, I don't care who it is. If it was Biden, if it was Trump, I mean, the results are the results. And there may be confusion or denial, or some level of just unclarity for some reason. But I think it's been tested time and time again in terms of the courts. That's how we settle things. Now, do you think if out of 30 attempts or more, do you think if the courts would have ruled in favor of there was fraud and there was something wrong with our election that just took place, it would be a different conversation? And so these are, as we look moving forward, I think we got to recommit ourselves to driving our decisions based on facts and scientific data before we jump to this whole thing of opinions, right? So accountability first, and then I do think we have to start that process of unifying and healing, and mainly for the common good of humanity, of how we're going to really keep this union from tearing apart, where there's no turning back. And we're at that break point. I kid you not, we're at that break point. But it's going to be largely dependent upon what you decide to do and what I decide to do. That's going to prevent that from continuing to broadening and widening the bridge of unifying and starting the process of healing. We got to do our part. You see something, you got to say something. And the conversation starts at home. Again, hate, time and time and again. Those are taught and learned behaviors from the home. We can't change that. You have to decide if that was something that you grew up with in your household. That's a decision that that's upon you to decide how you're going to change that. But we can do something about protecting each other's rights, freedoms, and liberties. That's really what our government is obligated to do, and they're obligated to do it fairly and across the board. So accountability is key, and we cannot turn and look the other way because that person is white, blue, yellow, I don't care what color they are. And this whole thing of swearing to protect, terrorism in terms of that's, outside our boundaries and also domestically. And when you see that there's a deliberate, intentional attack on our democracy from the inside out, we got to deal with that. We got to deal with that. And the citizens have to have some degree of assurances that we're going to do right, and we're going to hold everyone accountable that choose to criminalize and really create situations where you break the law. You're not doing it. You can protest, but let's protest peacefully. That's our freedom of speech and freedom to assemble in terms of these things. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the people that choose to go way overboard and choose to break the law. Break the law, and that's the key. So accountability, and then let's start the process of healing. Can't turn the page if we don't acknowledge what's in front of us now. And what's in front of us, we must hear and see contrition. I think people need to know that. How can you ask me to turn the page and you haven't even asked me for forgiveness or showing no remorse for what you did? That's just being disrespectful. It's just being disrespectful to pass that step. We have to deal with first steps. That's acknowledging our wrongs. And that's across the board. Right on? We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to dig in and talk about, love to get your thoughts about Omaha Public Schools. They announced that they're going to be going back to 5 days, that 5-day option of all the students going back to school. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Stay with me. I'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to Heartland Focus. It is cold out here in the Heartland. I tell you, I haven't put on long johns in probably 1965, a long time. But I tell you one thing, it feels so warm. I needed to do that in terms of shoveling my snow and all that heavy wind out there. Be safe out there. This is the flu season. And so if that's what you do, go get the flu shot. I personally, because of a lot of my pre-medical conditions and immune system being compromised, I got the flu shot. And so it just, that's a choice that you have too. You got to decide if that's what you want to do. But my doctor advised that I take the flu shot. One of the things, as we look at COVID-19, not only on the prevention side, but intervening in terms of situations where there's high risk, it's important that we check on each other, especially people that we know that are living by themselves, the elderly. I think everyone should have a medical home emergency plan. And I will bring on some subject matter experts, thought leaders around that to really help lay that out for us. But I can only share with you in terms of what we have at our home. And one of the things that's so important is that, as I walk into this studio, the first thing they do is they check my temperature, right? So you got to have some type of device to check your temperature to make sure that it's not rising at the level in which you're at risk. That's something is happening. Your body is and the temperature is increasing because it's fighting off something. And then also your oxygen level is so important. So we do have a device put on our finger, and that detects and tells us in terms of our oxygen level. That is another indicator. And so, there are some things that, you can do yourself to help protect yourself. And I think you got to have a team of people that you identify and have already, speed down, and then we've developed a check-in system. I think we have to develop a check-in system. Hey, hey, how you doing? I don't want to talk to you long, but I just want to check and see how are you doing. Are you feel good? Now, one of the things when you go to the doctor, what they just say, how do you feel on a rate of 1 to 10? Are you stressed? And I think just having those simple conversations and reaching out to each other and saying, how are you doing? And especially if, and so many folks, and the circle is just getting closer and closer. My nephew passed of COVID-19, and a good friend of mine's son passed, and my condolences to all the folks that have lost lives due to COVID-19. It makes it so much real. It's real, but it becomes so much in front of you when it just touches your family, your immediate family. And it's pretty hard to take when you know that this thing is deadly and people around you, in front of you, they're just not taking it serious. And so, it's important. So if you need to get tested, Test Nebraska. We'll pull up their website. Test Nebraska is an easy process. I've used that a couple times, and it's just very simple. They have them all over the state. Here in the Heartland, you can just see step by step how to get tested. Let's do that, because the more we test, the more we're aware of what's happening to us. Because if you know that you're carrying that virus, hopefully your behaviors will be of such that you're going to isolate and quarantine yourself. But if you don't know, you don't know. So let's get tested. Department of Health and Human Services, there's a lot of questions out there in terms of just the deployment of the vaccine. And there, for clarity, for facts, so you don't have to hear about it from Tim Clark, go to Department of Health and Human Services. They have a dashboard that will give you how many people have been tested, how many's been vaccinated, a minute by minute dashboard. I think we have that dashboard. If you can see on the screen there, the dashboard, and you click on that, it'll tell you real life, right now what's happening as it relates to COVID-19 data in the state of Nebraska, and explain this process of 1A, 1B, 1C in terms of the stages of when you can get the vaccine. And that's important, that we have credible vehicles that we can go to for information. I'm going to say that again, credible vehicles and outlets that's trusted that we can go to so we all can be on the same page, all the same page. And so more locally in the Heartland, Douglas County Health Department, Dr. Poor, their staff, they're doing an outstanding job. Our community health care centers. And so the challenge is going to be, how do we ramp up this process of giving folks this vaccine, and in hopes to reach this point of herd immunity, to really dial down and lower the risk of deaths. And really this vaccine, from what I understand, is really creating a biological vaccine that will help fight it really is fighting off the invasion of the virus. And so to get more clarity, understanding of that, go to the CDC.gov, cdc.gov, and we'll answer all those questions in terms of, should I get the vaccine? How it's going to affect me? Is it trusted? All of those questions you can get answers to the cdc.gov, or call your medical doctor. There's all type of telehealth services out there. This is the kind of thing is, if you don't know, you better ask somebody before you make decisions that could determine if you live or you die. Be very clear in terms of the information. So there's credible outlets. We just put them on the screen, the cdc.gov, the Douglas County Health Department, and then our Department of Health and Human Services. CEO Danette Smith, I mean, they have a humongous task of managing all of this in terms of just what's happening in terms of this pandemic. That's major. Major. So as they say, let's help them help us. Help them help us by doing our part. And part of it, and I said it, your mask, we gotta slow down the spread. If we overwhelm our hospital system, it creates a whole nother crisis. So we got to remember, people that have cancer, they have diabetes, hypertension, you still have those risk factors that people got to deal with every day. So they're not going away. So how do you compound that on top of dealing with a pandemic, and you overwhelm the system? What's going to happen? Common sense. It's going to crash. It's going to crash. So help them help us. Do our part. Let's really try to keep the spread down so we buy more time. Dr. Fauci said day one, we have to buy more time until we can administer more vaccines to really help to mitigate this thing and dial this down. So we need more time. We only can get more time if we can stop the spread. So I know a lot of people are really excited about coming back and get. I am. I'm a social butterfly. It is just killing me not to be with people and be talking about planning events and things like that. But we have to. We have to. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about OPS, their move to move back to 5 days of classroom with all the students. Be right back. Welcome back to Heartland Focus. I'm your host, Tim Clark. Hey, just before we finish up the show for today, I just want to I commend what OPS, Omaha Public School, in terms of just what's in front of them, the hand that they've been, dealt is just humongous in terms of a challenge. And Dr. Logan, the teachers, the frontline folks, security, everyone, I commend you and I applaud you for what you're doing. One of the things we want our students back in school. There's challenges. And I think in terms of just, if we want that, we got to do what's necessary to protect not only our students, but we have to protect our teachers and the front line. We have to protect them. So I don't know I know we're saying it's government protocol and all that stuff. I don't know what we have to do, Governor Ricketts, whatever the powers to be, we have to make it a priority to protect our teachers. If we're going to move back to full school 5 days a week, I do understand there is still an option to do virtual learning, but the push is to move back because our students are hurting. mentally, physically, academically, parents, they're challenged. I understand that. But let's do it safely. And I know Dr. Logan and the team, they're with all the protocols, they're doing everything to mitigate risk factors and working with community partners to do that. But we have to do our part as a community and as politicians. You know, no health, no wealth, no economics. We got to deal with the health piece first. And so we got to do what we need to do to protect our teachers. Let's figure out a way to get them vaccinated to help dial down their anxiety and the risk factors. That's all I'm saying, okay? And so, Governor, Dr. Logan, anybody, teachers, you're welcome to use this as a vehicle to come and talk about this. Hey, that's all for this episode of Heartland Focus. Really make today the beginning of your best year yet. It's a new year. Really, really focus on spirit, mind, body, and the rest will follow. Take care of one another, but it starts with taking care of yourself. Wear this mask. I'm out of here.